Almost everyone thinks they understood everything that happened in Bridgerton Season 4. The romance, the heartbreak, the dramatic ballroom scenes, and of course the long awaited story of Benedict and Sophie. But what if I told you that some of the most important parts of the story were never directly explained on screen? Hidden inside costumes, background decorations, and even quick camera shots are secret details that quietly reveal deeper truths about the characters. These clues are so subtle that most viewers never notice them the first time they watch the season. Yet once you see them, you realize the writers have been telling a second story all along, one hidden beneath the main plot. And some of these secrets completely change how certain scenes should be understood. So if you thought you caught everything while watching season 4, you might want to think again, because the first hidden secret appears in a moment almost everyone ignored. One of the most fascinating secrets in Bridgerton season 4 is hidden in plain sight during several of Queen Charlotte's appearances. At first glance, viewers mostly focus on her commanding personality. She is confident, powerful, and often intimidating to everyone around her. Whenever she enters a room, the entire atmosphere changes. Nobles immediately become nervous, and even the most confident members of high society carefully choose their words when speaking to her. Because of this strong presence, many viewers focus on her authority rather than the details surrounding her. But the costume designers quietly added a powerful symbol that reveals something deeply emotional about the Queen's life. During multiple ballroom scenes this season, Queen Charlotte wears a gown that includes a subtle, embroidered portrait of King George. It is not large or flashy, which is exactly why many people never notice it. The image is placed carefully within the design of her clothing, almost blending into the fabric patterns. If you are not paying close attention, it simply looks like decorative embroidery. But once you recognize what it actually is, the meaning becomes much more powerful. King George, as fans of the series already know, struggles with serious mental illness. Because of this, he cannot always rule the country the way a king normally would. As a result, Queen Charlotte often carries the heavy responsibility of leadership on her own. She must appear strong in front of the royal court, manage political decisions, and maintain control over the complicated social world of the Ton. To the public, Charlotte appears fearless and completely in control. But the hidden portrait tells a different story. By placing King George's image close to her heart, the costume subtly reminds viewers that behind her powerful public persona is a woman who is still deeply devoted to her husband. Even when he is not physically present beside her, she carries his memory and influence everywhere she goes. The detail quietly shows that the Queen's strength is not only about power or authority, it also comes from love and loyalty. What makes this detail even more interesting is how the show chooses to reveal it. The portrait is never directly mentioned by any character. No one in the story points it out or explains its meaning. Instead, the show trusts the audience to discover it on their own. This kind of storytelling is very intentional. Bridgerton has always been known for using visual details to tell deeper emotional stories without needing dialogue. In many cases, the costumes themselves reveal information about the characters' personalities, struggles, and relationships. Queen Charlotte's dress in season 4 is a perfect example of this technique. It quietly tells the audience that even the most powerful woman in society still carries personal pain and devotion that few people ever see. But there is another layer to this hidden clue that many viewers might not realize. During the scenes where Charlotte wears the gown with George's portrait, the camera often places her slightly apart from the rest of the crowd. While everyone else is busy dancing, gossiping, or celebrating, the Queen is usually watching from a distance. This visual separation reinforces the idea that her role isolates her from others. She may be surrounded by people, yet she still stands alone in many ways. In other words, the hidden portrait does not only represent love, it also highlights loneliness. Charlotte carries the weight of the crown, while the person she loves most cannot stand beside her the way a king normally would. The portrait becomes a quiet reminder of what she has lost even while she continues to fulfill her royal duties. This tiny detail adds emotional depth to several scenes that otherwise seem purely social or political. What first looks like a beautiful costume design slowly reveals itself as a symbol of sacrifice, loyalty, and One of the most subtle secrets in Bridgerton Season 4 is connected directly to Benedict himself, and it appears through something many viewers probably dismissed as a simple fashion choice. Throughout several scenes in the season, Benedict is seen wearing a small leather bracelet. At first glance, it may seem like nothing more than a stylish accessory. But in the world of Bridgerton, where clothing reflects social class, personality, and even hidden emotions, that bracelet actually tells a much deeper story. To understand why this detail matters, we first need to look at the strict fashion rules of Regency-era high society. During that time, aristocratic men followed very formal clothing traditions. Their outfits were carefully structured and elegant, designed to reflect wealth, status, and discipline. Accessories were also limited and usually very traditional. Items like polished cufflinks, signet rings, and pocket watches were common because they represented refinement and social order. But leather bracelets were not part of this world at all. In fact, something like that would have looked unusual among the upper class. That is exactly why the costume designers chose to include it. Benedict has always been one of the most unconventional members of the Bridgerton family. While his brothers often move comfortably within the expectations of society, Benedict constantly struggles with those rules. He enjoys art, creativity, and personal freedom far more than the strict traditions expected from someone of his status. His personality naturally pushes against the boundaries of aristocratic life. The bracelet quietly reflects this rebellious spirit. It signals that Benedict does not fully belong to the rigid system around him, even if he was born into it. While others carefully follow every rule of etiquette and fashion, Benedict expresses himself in small, subtle ways that break those expectations. Interestingly, the designers behind the show have mentioned that Benedict's style was inspired by famous cultural icons known for their independent personalities. Figures like Steve McQueen and James Dean became legendary not only for their talent, but also for their effortless, rebellious image. They often wore simple, rugged accessories that made them stand out from the more polished styles of their time. In many ways, Benedict mirrors that same kind of energy. He is not openly dramatic or confrontational about rejecting society's rules. Instead, he quietly distances himself from them through small choices that reflect his true identity. The leather bracelet becomes one of those choices. It may look like a minor detail, but it visually separates him from the other men in the tone who appear perfectly polished and traditional. And this difference becomes even more meaningful when Sophie enters his life. Unlike most members of high society, Sophie does not judge Benedict by his status or wealth. She sees the artistic and emotional side of him that others rarely notice. Because she exists outside the rigid structure of aristocratic society, she understands the parts of Benedict that feel trapped within it. That is why the bracelet becomes more than just a symbol of rebellion. It also represents the version of himself that Benedict feels free to be when he is around Sophie. When they spend time together, especially during their moments away from the public eye, Benedict begins to embrace his true personality more openly. The expectations of the ton start to matter less, and his identity as an artist becomes more important. This small accessory quietly tracks that transformation. Every time the bracelet appears on screen, it reminds viewers that Benedict is slowly moving away from the rigid identity society assigned to him and closer to the person he truly wants to become. It is a visual hint that his story is not only about romance, but also about self-discovery. And there is another fascinating detail connected to this bracelet that many viewers never realized. If you pay attention to the scenes where Benedict spends time in the most formal environments, especially during major social gatherings, the bracelet is often partially hidden beneath his sleeve. It is still there, but it is less visible. However, in more personal or relaxed moments, it becomes much easier to notice. This subtle change suggests that Benedict still lives between two worlds. One world is the strict aristocratic society he was born into. The other is the freer, more authentic life he wishes to live. The bracelet becomes a quiet bridge between those two identities. But as interesting as this hidden detail is, it is not the most emotional symbol in Bridgerton Season 4, because the next secret hidden throughout the season is far more powerful. and it is connected to a character who is no longer alive, a symbol that appears again and again in the background of important scenes, almost as if someone from the past is still watching. Almost everyone thinks they understood everything that happened in Bridgerton Season 4. The romance, the heartbreak, the dramatic ballroom scenes, and of course the long-awaited story of Benedict and Sophie. But what if I told you that some of the most important parts of the